who played him was pretty decent, actually. He was good. He was over the top. He was gross and obnoxious, but certainly they wanted someone like Howard Stern. And I think Farron's mentioned, maybe jokingly so, that they kind of wanted as an in-joke Mike Myers, the comedian, to play the shock jock, which I can only imagine what that would have gone like. But
oh, that'd have been funny. Because I think Howard Stern could have added a little
gravitas.
Yeah, and like even
that's even possible.
Even when Howard was doing that stuff, he seemed kind of likable.
Sure. I still think he's like one of the better interviewers there are. Yeah.
But just not like this guy. This guy just oozed kind of hate.
Yeah, but I think that falls in line with, right, the abusive dad. Like, he's somebody you definitely just don't like and want to see Michael go after.
And then Michael murders him and hangs him in a tree.
Yep. Actually, how does he kill him exactly? Because it's violent, but we don't see everything. He sort of comes up behind him, stabs him. Does he sort of gut him from behind and then string him up with the lights? Is that kind of what happens?
But when he falls, there's not too much. I didn't see.
That's why I ask. It's a little nebulous, but there's only so much they can show.
His clothes are all ripped up, so Michael grabs a ladder because he's not climbing up the tree.
Oh gosh! So here goes one of your articles in the making right now.
I was gonna do it, but I'm like, I just can't watch this too much because he murdered him immediately, then tied him up in a tree, and then the producers cut in the theatrical the girl singing or talking about blood.
And I like that scene too. I think they originally wanted to make that a longer sequence, build the tension, Hitchcock style or whatever, but I still appreciate the scene because you've got Paul Rudd and he's doing the broody Tommy Doyle thing, and I don't know, it's just one of those other things that's like, Michael is a sneaky guy. He's not really out just to kill people. He's out to like F with their heads, scare them because it's Halloween. And I like that as a sort of trick because he does do that stuff. And I think some of the sequels forget that. He's not just walking around killing people. He's, planting bodies and doing that kind of thing.
He does that in 4, right? Where all the bodies are up in the attic? Or is that 5?
He puts the mother in the attic in 6, right? When her sort of top half falls down.
And then he stabs her again, doesn't he?
I think he takes the axe out of her head.
Oh, yeah.
Because he wants that back.
Yeah. I mean, naturally.
Sure.
But
you don't waste a good axe.
That's a good point. I mean, you look back to Halloween, and he's stalking these women. I mean, he's been in a sanitarium for years. So he's going out there and he's seeing these, I guess, young girls, changing or doing all this kind of stuff. There's a playful attitude to him. So I guess
I'm behind that more than I am the inevitable argument that Michael Myers is an incel and the next Halloween movie is an incel anthem, a la Joker. So I think I'll get behind your theory.
Wait, are they saying those next Halloween movies are going to do that?
I'm positing a joke that I hope stays a joke and does not become a reality.
Oh, okay. I was like, geez Louise.
Which, by the way, this is a lurid point of argument, but we can't technically call him an incel if one is to believe that he, of course, is the father of the baby. Which, can we talk about the kids in this movie at some point, if not now?
Yeah, let's do it.
Because I'm at a loss. We've got, what are the kids' names? Danny. Danny is the child of the female protag.
Yep.
Who, why is her name escaping me? What is her name?
Kara.
I like her. She's bookish. She's no nonsense. Very much a Laurie prototype. Great. But yeah, she's obviously come back home to live with her folks who are terrible. Her dad is, and she doesn't want to be there, but tough times, and she's got a kid out of marriage, and we get this sense that, he's got special powers or something. He's hearing things. He's hearing the Nightmare Man. And they're very much gearing this up to be like, oh, this little boy is going to be the new Michael Myers. Well, why? What's his relation besides a blood familial, through line? So, it's a little blurry there. And I don't really know what the end game was on Daniel Farrens' part of the studios, but this kid's he's waking up in the middle of the night. He's hearing the Man in Black. We don't know why he has his visions, and we don't know why he's holding a knife to his grandfather. But Halloween,
I liked it better. So there were voices in the theatrical cut, but I liked it better when he just pulled a knife on the grandpa. Like, hey, you just hit my mom. Here's a knife. Like that. I don't know. Does that make more sense?
It makes more sense, but I think it takes away from the mystique of the evil in him, right? I think if anybody's mother was attacked, right, their first instinct would be to protect her. That's maybe less a horror element, more of a dramatic one. But yeah, I understand where you're coming from. And then you've got this kid, Jamie's kid, his other little baby, which actually, did that have a name? I don't think it did. It's just the baby, which, poor thing's got a thorn symbol on its tummy.
For a very long time.
Yeah, and Tommy Doyle, the Paul Rudd character, of course, finds at the bus depot or train station, what have you. So there's two kids in this movie. I'm not sure if either really needed to be in it, but I think the ultimate endgame, correct me if I'm wrong, was really to hint that this Danny was somehow the heir to the mask, so to speak. But the theatrical cut would have you to believe, no, this cult run by Dr. Terrence Wynn from the first movie, who talked to Dr. Loomis that one time about Michael Myers driving, which, by the way, nobody really talks about. Why don't we talk about this? He was a bit character with 10-15 seconds on screen, and here he is in part 6, the big bad, right? Running a cult, underneath the mental hospital, which, how did that happen? But anyways, yeah, he's the big bad, and I guess their grand plan, right, was to sort of study or incubate their own brand of evil, because they had those fetuses and those little observation tanks, which, hey, not too dissimilar from Halloween 2018 with Dr. Sartain, which, spoiler alert, is trying to study the nature of evil. So I don't know. It's silly, but I also kind of dig it because, like I said, it's very 90s.
Yeah. No, I mean, so that was in the theatrical cut because they ditched that in the producer's cut,
right.
Correct?
Right. Farrens didn't like it at all. None of the original team liked it at all. I think that was more of a Miramax note.
Why would they? So after the failure of Friday the 13th, making Corey Feldman into a killer, and then trying to do that with Danielle Harris in 5. No, 4.
4, yeah.
So why go back to that well when they've never really committed
That's
to
a good
it?
question. That's a good argument, too. And I hate it. It's such a tired trope. Like, what on earth? All right, let me ask you this. When has that happened in a movie or sequel or franchise or whatever, and has it gone over well? Nobody wants to see Michael Myers light or, Jason light. They tried that with Roy and, The New Beginning or whatever, and it's not the same. It doesn't work.
And such a long commitment. I mean, this is a child who's, 6, 7 years old. So then what do you have to fast
right.
forward 12 years?
Yeah, it's like, is a 8-year-old child with a knife really that threatening? Like, creepy children are creepy children, and you got Damien and all those demon children orphaned, but, like, as a stand-in for Michael Myers, they are not. It just doesn't make any sense.
Now, I kind of support Daniel Farrans for this. And Joe Chappell, the director.
Chappelle, yeah.
Chappelle. He went on to direct, some amazing shows. So he went and did Phantoms, which Affleck was the bomb in. But then he moved into The Wire. And then he started doing Fringe. And he's been working on, CSI and Chicago Fire. So his career after this movie took off. I mean, anybody who directs The Wire gets props with me. So
I must stand for The Wire, and I did not realize that. That's cool.
Yeah, so, I thought that was pretty neat. But these guys, they got, J.J. Abrams learned from Halloween 2 and Halloween 5. And then he put everything into so in the second one, right, he writes Sam Hamm on a wall.
Wait a minute. Did you say J.J. Abrams?
Yeah, so just hear me out. So in the second one, Halloween 2, you see Sam Hamm on a wall. Which,
by the way, I found out the wrong way. Sorry, interject. That's not how you pronounce it. I can't remember how you pronounce it, but that's not how you pronounce it. So we know people who are wincing at this.
Oh, so Rudd said that, though. He said he pronounced it like me, correct?
No, I know. We all get it wrong, but it's actually not pronounced that way.
But if it's in the movie, I think
it's like Sawin or something like that. I'm not kidding. I actually learned this after the fact. So anyways, go on.
But in this world, it works. So if you get at me for this, I'm doing the Paul Rudd defense. So they had that symbol introduced. Then in 5, you have the Man in Black coming in and just lighting up a police station and kidnapping people. In the Lost pilot episode, which J.J. Abrams directed, he had a smoke monster. He had polar bears. And he's like, all right, guys, deuces. And he ducked out. And then it was up to the creators to be like, we got to explain a smoke monster and a polar bear.
Sure.
Right? So now they wanted to tie this whole franchise back together. They tie, everything into it. Even they had Blankenship from Season of the Witch. Earlier drafts had some of those masks on. So they wanted to tie everything together. So that's a pretty tough job if that is the way you're going. They had to explain the symbols. They had the Man in Black. They had to explain the Man in Black. That you can't just be like, nah. So they
Right.
like uncynically tried to, instead of just saying nah, like the latest Halloween, they
Right.
said, you know what? Let's try it. So
Well, yeah, back then it was also sort of like that was still expected. I think now in 2017 and after, we are in this world like let's let the baggage past be the past and move on with something better. So yeah, you're right. They definitely took it upon themselves to like course correct, but use what they had been inherited.
I mean, I'm still salty though about them ignoring H2O because I think that could have worked.
Well, think about it though.
But then
How
the brother
Well,
angle.
not just that, but how awful would it have been? Like, Lori had a girl, but she went and faked her death, and then later had a boy, but she was okay with the boy and just like raised him.
Yeah,
it's terrible. So yeah, I can understand why they were sort of backed into a corner, and I think there's its own history there, right, with Kevin Williamson and his script. So
he wanted to include some of those other movies as well, but they told him no.
Yeah.
But so I don't know. With this, just I feel for them. They had a lot to do, and it's a lose-lose. And also the director's cut is still only 90 some minutes. So you had an hour and a half to explain Michael Myers, a cult. Like, why does he write these messages on things? Who's this man in black?
Right.
So I guess you could have dropped some of the kid angles and all that kind of stuff. But that's still a lot and it is the 90s. So, I mean, it's I guess for what they had, they did what they could, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, if it's not evident already, this movie definitely has a soft spot in my heart because, weirdly enough, this was the first Halloween I saw after the first movie, which it was very vivid. I was like about to go trick-or-treating, and I think it was on TV one time, and it just stuck with me. It was the theatrical version, obviously, but I just really enjoyed it as a kid, and a lot of that 90s stuff really works for me because the atmosphere is there. I don't care what anybody says. That Salt Lake City really, I think it works. They had to fight apparently quite a bit of snow, but I don't think it worked. I don't think it shows up and ruins the effect, although you can kind of see some mountains in the background. But I kind of like that cool weather feeling too. I mean, that's, I think, most people's experience on when Halloween rolls around, right? It's always a little bit chillier, and you kind of need that. But apart from that, yeah, the grunge clothing and even the music, which is somewhat unmemorable, there's like touches of that, and it just reminds me of Nirvana or something. So it is a perfectly nostalgic time capsule for when I watch it.
I mean, I read a trivia bit where it's the only Halloween movie to have filmed during the fall, and that made me laugh a lot because I mean, you think about they shot Halloween in California, and they had one bag of leaves to act the original to act like, hey, this is all the leaves we have. So
Sure.
I think no. Listen though, this movie does have an atmosphere. There is. So despite complaints, this movie does have a mood created that can't, right? There's a mood, Paul Rudd's going for it.
Oh yeah, he's actually great in it. I mean, for a first role, you can do a lot worse. I will be curious as to how they sort of do Tommy Doyle with Anthony Michael Hall in the new movie, but that's neither here nor there. I think Paul plays it really well.
I read a solid article, 9 Things You Don't Know. And apparently Paul Rudd disowned it for years, but recently at one of his Comic-Con appearances, he's had this to say, and I'm sorry if you've heard this, but he said, when I first saw Halloween 6, I remember thinking, oh God, this movie's not good. And I was really kind of bummed out. In fact, when we first started making it, I remember thinking, oh, this is the one that's going to be different. I enjoyed making it. I thought it was really, really fun. But then I thought, oh God, are people going to think I'm a joke? Am I ever going to get work as an actor after this comes out? I have since changed my tune. I love it. I'm honored to be a part of a franchise that has lasted that long, that has that many devotees, and I couldn't be happier. And I can say that my first movie is a Halloween movie.
I mean, it's true. I think especially knowing the fan base and how that fandom works, it's difficult to disown something even if it's not entirely great. But it's the same thing as Jamie Lee, right? I think he probably just took a note of inspiration from her. Like, she's gone on to bigger, better things. Arguably, of course, I think Halloween was her best. But, looking back at where you started, I think it's important to say, yeah, times were different, and I took a job, and maybe it wasn't what I wanted, but here I am now. So I think he's grateful for it. And who doesn't like Paul Rudd? I mean, shoot.
And also, when people's complaints about this movie can't be Paul Rudd, it's like that that Dido song, "I Will Not Go Down with This Ship." He's not the one. He didn't go down with this ship.
No, he's not.
Because he tried something in this movie. I don't know. I kind of dig that.
He swung for it.
Yeah, so I dig that. But hey, let's do something. Let's take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll talk more Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers, the producer's cut. Jeez Louise. Welcome back to Movies, Films, and Flicks. And Adam, I'm a little disappointed in you, man. You didn't notice something about me tonight.
What did I not notice about your voice tonight?